you guys hear? The 1080 Ti launched a couple of months ago. I'm a bit slow to the bandwagon for a lot of reasons, but the most prominent is that my wife is pregnant with our third child, and the first trimester has hit her like a ton of bricks, and has allowed me to take up a lot more responsibilities around the house. Due to YouTube still being a hobby, tinkering with the new tech in my office has been a byline in my life as of late. And because of that, there's already a bajillion reviews you can go check out on the ASUS Strix 1080 Ti OC GPU. I forgot the Ti, so I won't bore you with any of the general review stuff, since it's been done and dusted. You don't need me to tell you that it has the boost clock of 1708 MHz, 11 GB of GDDR5X memory with an 11 GHz clock, and 3584 CUDA cores, or that it has dual 8-pin power connections with support for fan and LED headers on the edge of the GPU to synchronize your system with your graphics card, or that it has fans that don't turn on until you hit 55 degrees Celsius with the triple wing blade fan configuration. There would be no point in me saying any of that, because it's all been said before. So rather, today's video's purpose will be to take the Strix 1080 Ti and to overclock it as far as I can on my Ryzen system to see just how much I can push this puppy. Obviously, I'm going to be taking some baseline FPS numbers to compare, but this won't be an in-depth benchmarking session, but rather one for me to do my worst on the OC side of things. It's on an open testbed to hopefully allow for the best thermal situation, but let's go ahead and see how far this Strix graphics card can go. The Strix 1080 Ti graphics card is now installed, so it's time to pull up the overclocking software that I like to use, which is MSI Afterburner. I have it all set up to configured so that I can adjust the voltage, the power limit, all of that kind of stuff. First, we need to get some base numbers. So the three programs that I'm thinking of using today are going to be, let me see, what do I have installed? I'm going to use 3D Mark, Fire Strike Ultra, which is their 4K one, Deus Ex Mankind Divided at Ultra 4K, and then Rise of the Tomb Raider at very high settings 4K with FXAA on. So let's go ahead and get all of the base numbers for the graphics card when it's just set at stock, because it should run at like 1950 megahertz, give or take, just with GPU Boost 3.0 active with no adjustments anywhere else. I do know that I have tried it. If I put the voltage, power limit, and fan speed up to 100%, then I can get the card to run at 2 gigahertz with no overclocking, just minor other tweaks. But right now it should be at like 1950, so I'm going to go ahead and run Fire Strike Ultra, then Deus Ex, and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we will then take stock at where we're at, and then overclock the GPU. Yes, as I expected, the boost clock on this came up to 1962 during the scheme of testing, with it being like 1924 thereabouts during the actual testing. So we have the score! Just over 7,000 and Fire Strike Ultra. Let me take a picture so that I can remember it. Although my phone can remember it now, it'll be time to hit up Deus Ex and then finally go into Rise of the Tomb Raider. 39.6 average. 31.3 minimum, 48.8 maximum. And for anybody who's wondering what Ryzen setup I have going, it's the Ryzen 7 1700 at 3.8 gigahertz with 32 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident Z RAM. Obviously, the CPU and RAM are all just going to stay the same throughout the entire thing. So that the only thing I'm testing is the overclocking performance on the graphics card and nothing else. Start the benchmark. 68.62 overall average, all of the other data, no less than 30 FPS minimum. Now it's time to go ahead and start benchmarking, or overclocking the graphics card rather, and I'm going to do that in MSI Afterburner. Now for my process for overclocking, I pull up MSI Afterburner, which I already have up, and then I also take up 3D Mark to do this. So I do a custom run of 3D Mark on graphics test number 2 because I found, at least in all of the testing that I've done, that seems to give me the most stability issues when it comes to an actual overclock. Up first, I'm just going to raise the power limit and the voltage straight up, and I'm also going to go ahead and put the fan speed at max just so that we can get the absolute best performance that we could possibly expect out of this system. It's going to be a bit noisy, but we're overclocking. We're not just trying to play games generally. Let me lower my seat so you guys can see me. There we go, now my head's in the shot. Okay. Now that we have that set up, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna raise the core clock incrementally. So I'm gonna start at 25 megahertz overclock. I'm gonna apply that And then I'm just gonna run the custom graphics 2 test because this allows me to get a good idea of where the graphics card is at that speed without having to waste too much time doing a full benchmark run. So I'm going to keep doing this until I hit an instability point, then I'm going to pull it back just a tad. I'm going to do a full 3D Mark benchmark, then I'm going to go into the other games and do those benchmarks to see if it's stable there, and then I'm going to do memory clock overclocking to see just where we end up with the entire system. But I'm expecting that I'm probably going to get close to 2.1 gigahertz on the core clock. This seems to be running stable. It's only a 25 megahertz overclock. I'm going to do it in 25 megahertz increments until I hit that instability point, which should be somewhere between 100 to 150 megahertz overclock. Yes, fully stable, and now it's time to go up to 50 megahertz. And I can see on the Afterburner hardware monitor, it shows me that it was running consistently at 2025 megahertz during that entire benchmarking session. Punching my screen. Oh my gosh! The GPU temperature hasn't gotten above 45 degrees Celsius during those little OC sessions. That's impressive for the triple wing blade fans keeping those CPUs cool. Like, I'm feeling the backplate and it's not warm at all. It's amazing. Very, very cool. Literally. Okay, so I did a plus 100 megahertz overclock on the core. I'm gonna just now start raising it up by 5 megahertz each time to see where the actual breaking point of everything is going to be. So let's get back into the benchmark! I think that's trademark. Anyways, let's get back into the benchmarking. Stable! And we just broke the 2.1 gigahertz threshold, so that's pretty cool. At 105 over regular, so let's go 110 and try again. And still, the max temperature during that run was 40 degrees Celsius. And this is on a 250 watt TDP card. That is fantastic! 40 degrees Celsius! Good job, ASUS. ASUS. ASUS for all of us. ASUS for all of us. ASUS. ASUS for all of us. ASUS for all of us. ASUS for Olivers, in case you were wondering. Olivers. No! She died. Okay. Alright, let's scale it back to 105. Do another run. Okay, no artifacting, no issues whatsoever. We're at 2101 megahertz on the core clock with graphics test number 2 on 3D Mark working. So now it's time to move over back to the games to see if those are stable at the same frequency. 41.6, we gained 2 FPS. Perfectly stable. I saw no artifacting whatsoever during that time. Rise of the Tomb Raider next. We gained 4 FPS! 72.55 compared to the 68.62 from earlier. But it was completely stable, no artifacting whatsoever. 2.1 gigahertz is good to go. So now it's time to do the same process as I did with the core clock, with the memory clock, raising it by 50 megahertz each time, and then doing the graphics test 2 on 3D Mark to see how it goes. And then as far as temperatures, 45 degrees Celsius. Now obviously, you don't want to have your GPU cranked up to 100% when you're playing games. So, after I get the memory clock stable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the fan setting to auto to see how well the overclock performs then, to see if you can get a realistic 2.1 gigahertz without having to endure with this noise, because that's a little bit annoying. So now, memory clock time. Okay, at max fan speed, 70 decibels. 70 freaking decibels. This is loud. I don't appreciate this. Over here where you guys are hearing it, we're at 48 decibels. And just sitting right here next to 52 decibels from my ear to the fan. That's insane. It's too high. 100 megahertz on the memory! That was 11,200 megahertz. Now it's time for 11,300 megahertz. 11,400. Now we're going to be at 12 gigahertz for this run on the memory clock, putting us a full 1 gigahertz over the stock memory clock that ships with this graphics card. Let's see if it works. I'm fairly confident that it will. Looks like 650 megahertz overclock on the memory clock is no good, so let's tone it back down to 600. Let's do a full run. Okay, that was perfectly stable. 100 megahertz on the core clock, which puts us at 2.1 gigahertz. 600 megahertz on the memory clock, which puts us at 12,200 megahertz. And we have a Fire Strike score of 7,598. which I believe is 500 points higher than previously. Yeah, so we had 7,036 previously. That's 5,062 or 562 points higher than the previous round, with all of that coming from the graphics score, going from 7,023 on the previous run to 7,640 on this current run. And then the combined score shooting up at 300 points from 3,800 to 4,106. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, cancel that. So now, running Deus Ex. This is going to be the best performance that I can get out of this graphics card. I'm not going to tweak it that much more to see how much further I can push it. The idea now is to get all of the benchmark numbers for it at max fan speed settings, and then see after that, can I still run the same frequencies without it sounding like it's a tornado? That's what I want to find out. So we're just going to do this. Everything's fine. That table flexed. Oh my heavens. Oh, that was scary. Okay. There we have it. 43 FPS, which puts us at 3.4 FPS higher than we had at stock with the 1080 Ti, which obviously doesn't sound like a lot, but 3 out of 39, what percentage is that? Let me pull up my calculator. That's a 7% increase on the frame rate. 7%. Alright, now it's finally time for the final full board stress test with the fans deafening my ears. Hopefully this goes off without a hitch. We get some decent FPS numbers. We can see that it can run at 2.1 gigahertz with a 12,000 memory clock. And that'll be a good enough video for me. We have a successful run. 87.26 on Mountain Peak, 67.91 on Sirius, 66.45 on Geothermal Valley, and 74.22 FPS total overall, which puts us at a good 5.5 FPS over stock, which is still respectable because that means it's over 70 instead of over 60, which means that the minimums are higher. It's all a good setup. So, now, again, we need to get rid of this noise. So I'm just going to adjust the fan speed. I'm going to put that at auto. Hopefully it'll die off because it's at 40 degrees, which means that the fans shouldn't spin up because they're under 55. And the fans are completely off. So let's see now how well the system can run without the full bore loudness of the fans going. Okay, 3D Mark doesn't want to run because it says it's still running. Whatever, I'll just do Rise of the Tomb Raider again. Fan speed percentage is at 0. Let's launch Rise of the Tomb Raider. 74.22 FPS is the mark that we are at, and actual full stability is also something that we're kind of aiming for here. Fans still not spinning. Let's see how long they take to spin up. There we go. Spinny spins. Just a little bit into the benchmark. Definitely not as loud. Let me get the sound monitor. What are we at? 50 decibels directly next to the fan, whereas before when it was full bore it was 50 decibels next to my ear. So this is significantly quieter. Yeah, 50, 51, 52. Although that does not indicate stability whatsoever. Yes, go away. Okay. Let's see what we have to drop it down to in order to get it stable there. I'm just going to drop the memory clock down by another 50 megahertz and see if that works. Let's see what the temperature got up to during that time. So instead of being under 45 degrees, it peaked at 70 degrees during that before I dropped the Alt F4 on it. Alright, we're stable now where we were not before. Nope, stability died. Okay, I'm gonna drop the core clock by probably like 10. So I'll put it at 90 plus. And again, temperature was up to 71 degrees during that time. Nope, still doesn't like it. Still doing that black thing with the popping frames missing and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's drop the core clock down to 85. Let's drop the memory clock down to 400. Obviously plus, not the actual memory clocks. Okay. No. Wrong one. Apparently I'm just doing Square Enix games. I didn't think about that. I've spent 58 hours in Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I have not played a single minute of that game. No! Why you crash? Why you crash? Okay, why is the power running at 115%? Even though I'm not doing anything. That doesn't seem right. Okay, I'm going to save this as profile 2. I'm going to reset and see if the power percentage will drop. No, it has not. It's still running at 115% of its power limit, which does not seem right. Okay, I'm going to restart because that seems broken, and I don't think it's probably the core clock that's causing the issues there. Okay, just stay off. Okay, I think I just need some time to cool down. Okay, well, unfortunately, I am going to have to end the video here because for whatever inexplicable reason, my Ryzen 7 processor is now dead. I don't know, the CPU wasn't overclocked past what its turbo clock was. There was no RAM overclocking, but I tried it in the MSI X-Power Gaming Titanium. Would not boot. Now it's in the B350 Gaming Pro Carbon from MSI. That won't boot, so there will be no definitive conclusion to this video because I have no way of testing the overclock on that graphics card anymore. But I think the point of the video was well established. You can hit 2.1 gigahertz on the ASUS Strix 1080 Ti OC edition if you are willing to crank up that fan speed. If you want to have more silent cooling, then you might have to drop it down a little bit. But apparently there was some latent instability in my CPU, so take my results for what they're worth. I am now really flustered. You can see that there's no light coming in from behind the window because now it is nighttime. And I have not been able to really figure out what's going on. The motherboard shows everything, but CPU, no go. No booting. Everything's dead. So, thank you for watching my Strix 1080 Ti OC overclocking video. Be sure to hit a like if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all of my tech-related content, including me somehow managing to get by without a dedicated PC anymore. Big thanks to ASUS South Africa for sending over the 1080 Ti Strix OC edition for me to check out. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.